I spend a lot of time on the street and on the road. The bodies of work, most of them come to me as just observations, and when I'm luckiest, I see something new that I've actually seen all the time. You know, it's like you see these tarps that are just hanging on by a thread on a fence, and it's kind of an eyesore, everyday objects, or, you know, they're broken, and then you give it a new context. I started noticing other things. I started collecting these basketballs that I would find in gutters that were deflated or had been run over by cars. I heard these kids kind of complaining that no one changed the basketball nets. And it was just a light bulb moment for me, and I was like, oh yeah, growing up playing basketball, it's the worst if there's no net. So I started going and changing basketball nets. And at first it was kind of funny because I was like, oh, it's like air trash. And it's like I'm getting things out of the gutter, and now I'm doing, you know, this network. And the problem right now, like I love changing nets in the rain, but when it's a little cold, I lose the feeling in my fingers, and it makes it harder to string the nets through. I mean, I've been a lifelong sports fan, but when I started making art seriously, I never really envisioned that I would treat sport as a medium. The nets, to me, how they're arranged, they're so abstract that I think you don't necessarily think about sport. I want them to be mysterious and tangled and, you know, the filth and the decay. Something I always think about, how many balls went through each of these nets. That's exciting to me because these are things that we will never know. It's like how many licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. I had always wanted to buy some like higher end sports memorabilia that had been autographed by Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Babe Ruth, and add my signature to these, you know, relics. When I just started painting autographs, it's so simple. So much of my work, they're these really simple concepts. In this weird way, they question authenticity and who is authentic self, and why do so many people want a piece of these immortal talent. It goes back to embedded history. Even though these things aren't found per se, they are someone else's hand was why I'm making this. It is someone else's story. So how do I manipulate it? How do I make it mine? A terror and an excitement, and that's where it's like, it's a razor's edge success and failure. I mean, it's like first day of school energy. They make me nervous, they scare me, they excite me, but you always get through the first day of school. I want to elevate things that are forgotten, this idea of resurrection, not in a biblical sense, but in a, like, giving something new life. As the paintings, as they build, the signatures, they become sloppier, they change. I like that because our perception of these figures changes over time. It creates that kind of humanity that I want these to evoke. You know, now it's my hand and their hand. If it's in good shape, I'll leave it. I don't like, if it's flat, probably leave it. Still holding some air. Time that the materials have had to live in their environments and be affected by the seasons. It's something that can't be manipulated. When you see some of these basketballs, how many tens of thousands of times they've been dribbled, or some of these nets, almost like a mass. It doesn't look like a net because it's been hanging by a thread and sun warped and snowed on. That's where I think the conversation around these embedded histories is really important. It's like we learn from ruins and then we rebuild. So there's 2 Bleacher sculptures in the show. Bleachers to me are fascinating. Taking them at more than face value and thinking about the worlds that exist on top of them and below them is something that is very stimulating to me. There's something that's very intimate about bleachers. You're right next to someone. Being able to truly lose themselves in this collective fandom is intoxicating. What happens under the bleachers, there are these first kisses, these first cigarettes, this level of intimacy that's kind of happening below the surface. Under where all of this amazing intimacy is happening that's much louder, and this is quieter and more gentle and more private. There's something really special about taking the field out of the equation. And I like bringing these 2 opposing objects together and they become one.